I'll be back.
Once put a smile on that face.
Stuck up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
You sold my dead bird to a blind kid?
I took care of it. You talk. Give me 2.
Death by stereo.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. All out of bubblegum.
Here's the party racer. Pound you're gonna fly. And that is out of here, mister. Dylan, you son of a bitch.
What's up, Nerf Herders? This is Bootzilla.
Big Perm, J-Bone.
Welcome to the Nerf Herders podcast. We've been talking about Blair Witch up the wazoo for the last month. Just our anticipation leading up to this and a lot of people's anticipation ever since the Blair Witch Project came out in 1999 and just completely captivated audiences. Everybody's been waiting for a sequel and it's been talked about, and we got Blair Witch Book of Shadows the following year after the original, which was nothing in comparison to the original, didn't even follow the same story. And now we've got a legitimate sequel that was secretly filmed by Adam Wingard, written by Simon Barrett, and we've talked a lot about them in Your Next and The Guest recently. And all of a sudden this movie comes out, and we have been waiting forever for this, and we are going to break this movie down front to back, top down, all around. Spoilers up the wazoo, so if you have not seen the Blair Witch Project, or Blair Witch, rather, there's probably a good portion of you that haven't, because this movie flopped like a son of a bitch this weekend. Don't listen to this. Come back after you've seen the movie and share your thoughts with us on Facebook.com/NerfHerdersPodcast, also YouTube.com/NerfHerdersPodcast. We're going to break it right into here, start with the beginning of the movie. Big Perm, take it over!
So the movie starts out with this footage, right? You got some kind of found footage, almost looks like it's from the previous film, just by the quality of the camera work and everything. You kind of got this scene where someone's running around in a house, and I didn't notice what the film was from, because it wasn't in the original movie, but you're introduced to the main character, James, who happens to be the brother of the main character female from the last one, right?
Yeah. Before we get into that, when you mentioned the scene from like the girl running up in the house and stuff like that, I knew right away it wasn't from the original, and I didn't think it was Heather from the original. And when they showed that clip of her in the mirror, and the brother, the guy, was like, "That's my sister," I thought to myself, I'm like, "You're an idiot. No, it's not. Like, I can even see that, dude." It's just, it started off right away. It was like, okay, it started off on a weird foot, but I bought into it.
It did start off on a weird foot with that. I actually really kind of liked the beginning, how they did that. I think the main reason with that is because it threw me off so much, where I think when it first started, I was like, oh, crap, dude. Not one of these. You know what I mean? I'm thinking they're showing us the end of the movie, and then we're going to kick forward. And when they stopped, and they're like, hey, welcome to YouTube. I was like, all right, that was clever. You got me. You got me.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the idea of the beginning, because you need a reason for this guy to go out in those woods again. And I think it gave him some kind of motivation to find his sister. It's been 14 years since the original. He didn't really know much about what happened to her prior, except that she had gone to the woods to look for this legendary Blair Witch, didn't come back. And this is the first thing he's been able to find that resembles maybe her, right?
Right.
They go through kind of the idea that, police never found a house out there, and they searched the woods and no traces of anybody, so she's just not there. There's nothing out there. And this footage is found by these weird locals, and it kind of gives him a reason to be like, okay, maybe something was missed, right?
Gives him hope. Yeah, hope to reopen the case and try to find something out there.
When they went to the locals' place, Brittany and I immediately, well, actually, she spotted it first. She was like, these people are going to play a joke on him, or something, or do some sort of prank, or they're going to be involved. There's some weird witchcraft. They're definitely tied in. But I was like, I don't know, man. I just thought right away, I was like, you got all these people already joining, and then you got these additional girlfriend-boyfriend couple that are going to join in because what was the point where he's like, I want to join, or, I'll take you to the place if you like credit me the footage or something like that.
Yeah.
So kind of to backtrack off that, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but you have the two couples that this film really kind of follows, and it's the brother. I guess they aren't a couple, but the brother
They want to be.
brother of Heather, right? And then you got Lisa, who's like this filmography person. She's trying to use this as like a school project, so she wants to film, what happens. And then you got his childhood friend Peter, the black dude, who is like, well, I helped you look for your sister, so I still want to be there for you. And then his girlfriend or whatever. So you have this group,
and they're nice. They're likable too.
I like
they're
how
likable
they were introduced. So I bought into the movie at the beginning for sure, just because I thought it set it up well as like giving me a reason why to go back to the same place we were. Right?
I liked when they showed like the search parties going out into the forest of like this old '90s footage. Like I was like, okay, like I'm totally buying it, and but
yeah, and I like that too, and the thing that right from the get-go that disappointed me from this movie, though, and there's other things I liked. We're gonna totally dissect the hell out of this, but I totally was under the impression, I guess, and this is my own mistake for having these preconceived notions going into this.
Lay it down.
14 years.
Woo!
You know what I mean? 14 years your sister's missing. This video emerges that was clearly still back from when they were initially in the woods, and after 14 years, it's just like, what if she's still out there? All right. First of all, dude, there's two things to break down on this. First of all, if you think she's out there just surviving in the woods and nobody's come across her by now, you're a complete dumbass. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if you really think she's out there, then clearly you believe in this Blair Witch stuff to some extent. So why are we going out here in a group of 4? Like, get an entire search party together, a family and everything, dude, and, like, go out there protecting yourselves where you're not going to wind up in the same situation your sister was. After 14 years, dude, it's a little far-fetched. I was thinking this movie was going to take place a year or two after, right? So we're still kind of like...
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to take place, like in the late 90s type thing, still pre-hardcore technology era where, like, still cell phones aren't really out there and all that.
Man, that would have been brilliant. I didn't even think about that.
It would have made more sense, dude, to just be like, oh my gosh, we did the search parties, nothing happened, and now this video emerges. It doesn't even have to be a YouTube thing. You don't have to go to the technology stuff. It would have made more sense to me if you're searching a year or two after than 14 years, dude.
I agree. I think I agree with you in that, it is a little far-fetched that, okay, 14 years later, what makes you want to go now? You know what I mean?
Why that video?
Because the video emerges, and it's obviously from 14 years ago.
It's nothing new.
So it doesn't, like, say, hey, she's alive. It just says, here's another piece of footage found from the same event.
Exactly. Why does this make you get off your ass at this point, dude?
So that definitely, I agree with you.
Stupid motivator, dude.
But, I mean, I think Adam Wingard had to go the 14 years later route because I think he just really wanted to utilize the resources he has today. And
I'll tell you why they did it. They wanted to bring... They couldn't remake the movie, so this is the way of saying, like, here's the sequel boot, reboot sequel, resequel, if you will. Yeah, one of those words. That's what they wanted to do with this dude. We're gonna reinvent the Blair Witch and give it to a new generation, but we're going to try to respect the old movie so other people don't get pissed off because horror movies are being remade too much these days. That's exactly what they tried to do, man. And it was a soft remake to introduce this to a new generation.
And I think, too, it was also catered towards not people like you and I. I think it was catered towards a newer audience of younger generational.
I will tell you this. I mean, as much as it was, I really did like the upgrade of technology and the use of it.
I wish
they could have used the drone a little bit better, but I feel like
the drone was pointless, dude.
Yeah, I mean it was pointless. It was cool though, like to have a drone there was cool, but they should have used it. Like,
just wasted.
They didn't use it on anything. You know what I mean? They used it, I guess, as a motivation, and this is later in the movie of that chick climbing the tree, but they didn't use it in that like they could have gotten a cool aerial shot of something going down. Something with like the trees rustling. I don't know, but they could have used it in a better way. But I like how they had like the ear cameras. Like that was cool. They had like the night vision camera watching the campsite. But the problem with all the upgraded technology is they didn't use it to their advantage. They still relied on jump scares.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the primary thing that pissed me off was like you have all this technology and you're using all this awesome stuff to make this movie look better. but you're not using it to your advantage. You're still relying on jump scares that are pointless. You know what I mean?
Cheap
Because
jump scares, dude.
To your point earlier with the whole, like, this is not real, right? Like, this isn't reality. This isn't how someone would really do something. When you're in the middle of the woods, you're not going to just jump in front of someone, be like, hey, like, how you doing?
Well, especially
Out
when
of
you
nowhere and scare the shit out of them.
Well, especially when the two people are dead silent, standing there in the woods, and the noise carries like a son of a bitch. There's no chance for someone to sneak up on you in the woods like that, dude. It's silent as can be. You're going to hear every little footstep in Brussels, but they still manage to show up when you turn a camera. It's like, whoa! Or each time the camera would cut to a different camera, it's like these loud noises. It's like, this is bullshit.
Well, real quick, like going back to how, when they met up with the local people.
Yeah, let's talk about the locals.
Well, I was going to say,
Green Day vocalist.
What's the guy's name?
Billy Joel Armstrong, right?
Billy Joel, yeah. I mean, they like you mentioned earlier, they did borrow shots from the original movie that had a lot of similarities, basically stolen rehashes of the original. The motel from the original, because Bernice and I actually watched the original the night before we saw it, the new one. So you got scenes of where they're all getting drunk and they're smoking cigarettes in the motel before the night before they head out. Same thing, almost the same hotel, or I shouldn't say hotel, motel, like a Motel 2.
Resequel.
And all of a sudden, like, you got them, like, drinking hard whiskey, getting drunk. Same thing with the original. Oh, man, Josh, how do you feel this morning? I'm never drinking again. Same thing, same crap. Yeah. And then the part where they all get to the woods, you see the sign, welcome to Blair Witch, or welcome to Burkittsville. And then they park the car, and then they're, like, walking backwards as they're holding the camera. I'm like, this is from the original. Like, you're literally stealing stuff from the original. And then they get into the woods. It doesn't feel like the same woods, like you said. I'll let you bring up that point later.
Yeah,
but which was like
about that.
Great observation. But like, it seemed like that the woods were. It wasn't like the original forest from the original movie, but also then you got this point where they're walking, and the female African American chick, she stubs her foot on like this rock, and I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, look, she's totally fucked for the rest of this movie. But it was like it had no point, it had no water to that whole point at all.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, we'll talk about that later.
Let's
but
not get ahead of ourselves because we still need to talk about the locals. So let's try and keep this, at least let's focus on like characters for the time being because we're getting like way ahead of ourselves.
Well, still, I mean, like. I'm saying, like, it's fucking garbage, dude. Like, it's just the character development sucked. Going from the locals, even when they first met them, it was like, okay, I can buy into it. And then, they got like this old school camera, and I've been back there, and this and that. They say, so they go off on this like adventure, and just everything, dude. Everything, even during that scene, during those moments, dude. Like how the camera edited itself, and it was like these quick little cuts, and they're showing like all the different things. It's like from the original one, when they showed her using the black and white footage or the colored footage, you were to assume that when they found that footage, it was edited by her literally turning on and off the camera. But in this one, they're showing all these POV of like different people. Like, oh man, I don't know, I don't trust these locals. I don't trust them. Like, I don't think we should take them with us. What do you think? I don't know. And all of a sudden, the camera quickly edits to the next one as if it's like a VHS movie. I'm rambling. I'm pissed off. And rant.
Yeah, well,
it's just bad editing, dude.
Well, I like the setup of the characters in the beginning. Once we get to the locals and they're kind of talking about stuff, it seemed way too cliche to introduce this whole like, "Hey, can we come with you?" storyline. Why wasn't that something that was established pre showing up at these people's house? Like it just seemed like such a dumb thing, and it's just, oh, could we talk in private for a little bit? And then they all go out into the backyard and start talking. I hated the fact that these people came with. It was totally just a plot device that was completely unnecessary, in my opinion. I think the more people you have in these movies, the less creepy it is, dude. The sense of isolation and all that is really what brings that fear out. I didn't really care for the local people at all.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Like, it was way too many people.
Yeah, 6 people is too much, dude. Like, Three's Company, dude. Three's Company.
Like, it started off good, and then when they brought to the locals, I was like, eh. And then, yeah, it just felt like when they all got into the car and they all parked the car and they started walking, it was like, this is way too many people, dude. Like, this is just way too many bodies, way too much lines to people for them to act, or way too much to responsibility.
Yeah,
to worry about.
You can't get invested into each person, dude. 6 people is too much for a story in the woods like this, dude. 3 people in the original, you get connected to each one of them. I was not a big fan of it, but nevertheless, they take these 2 locals with them who are just weird as shit, dude. So it's like, yeah, let's just go in the middle of the woods with these 2 people. So they park the cars, they start walking, and, we wind up getting into the woods. I'm going to say that this is where shit's going to seriously start blowing up, dude. When they're walking through the woods, something that was amazing about the Blair Witch Project is you don't really get the sense that that these people are on top of their game, dude. Like, when they're walking through the woods and you're kind of going through the motions with them, you really feel like you're lost in the woods. I felt like when they set up camp the first time, I was like, you just walk down the block, dude, and, like, here's your campsite. I never felt like they got out there. I never felt like that at all, dude.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt it was very rushed when they first started walking towards there. Like I mentioned earlier, this nonsensical point in the film where the chick stubs the bottom of her foot and it gets infected. That was completely unnecessary. You could have done away with that. I mean, leading on to, like, near the end of the film and stuff. But
Well, it's silly because you're crossing a creek.
yeah,
Can't you just find a spot to cross where there's some rocks to jump on? You know what I mean? Like,
Apparently
everyone's
not.
like taking off their clothes, dude. It's like, yeah, let's just walk and get soaking wet. You know what? I don't know, man. It was just stupid shit like that, dude. Like, when they crossed the creek in the original, similarities again. It was more fun, dude. They made it a fun thing, dude. Like, scared walking across the log and they're kind of making fun of each other and shit. Like, it was fun, dude. It made you like these characters more. This go around was just saying, like, let's go for it. And I was like, this is a little too early for something to happen.
no, and like I know I mentioned acting before. Even this scene too, where they were walking across the little river. Even the acting there I was really unimpressed. From you could tell from the original, man. Like, a lot of the acting was, I want to say, like, ad-libbed or even improv.
Just authentic reactions and stuff.
Authentic reactions. This one,
Act natural and just film what happens, and we'll make a movie out of it.
It's like
This seemed very scripted.
very scripted. Where when she hurt her foot, it's like she's like, ah, and you hear this big, like, bone crunching weird sound.
Extremely loud sound effect, dude. Unnecessary.
And it's just like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Hurry, put your arm around both of us and we'll carry you. It's like, man, like, calm down. Like, just relax, will you? Like, no one fucking acts like this in real life. Like, if you would have stubbed your toe, you would have been like, fuck, and you're hopping on one foot or you're babying it as you still cross. You're a human being, dude. You don't get treated like you're this little princess. I don't know, just that part really annoyed me. And then you mentioned the campsite, how they're going way into the woods on the first one, and you can totally feel that they're going way into the woods on the first one. You
felt in the first movie, you felt very isolated. Did you guys? We all agree with that, right? Blair Witch Project, dude. Like, you really felt isolated, dude, in these creepy ass woods. They weren't super, super dense. Like, these woods were very dense and just overgrown, and they tried to go for that claustrophobic feeling the whole movie, and I didn't ever get that sense of isolation. Like, did you guys feel that sense of isolation at all during this?
No.
What isolation, dude?
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I felt like when they set up camp, dude, it was just like I said, man, they left the cars, they walked a mile, and they were like, all right, like, let's camp. Mm-hmm. And, when we're sitting here at the campsite and everything, everyone's, kind of looking at these locals like, oh, let's talk about the legends of the Blair Witch and all that. And, we get a new theory on what happened to the witch. They hung her up on a tree and put the stones on her arms and legs, to, like, stretch her out. And, they're talking about all that stuff. And the thing that really drove me nuts here is, like, they're sitting there saying, like, yeah, well, once you stay the night, they know this. Once you stay the night, that's when the spell's put on you, yada, yada, yada. They wanted to come and join this expedition. But then we wake up in the morning, and what do we have outside of the tents?
Immediately right outside the tents is freaking the stick twig figures or whatever. Like 20 of them. Like, right off the bat. We're like 20 minutes in this movie, dude.
Well, let's keep in mind, too, dude, like, those twig figures, that was never a part of the Blair Witch MO to just put those around you. They stumbled across that. It was just something that was out there, some sort of like ritualistic thing that was created and just left.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I was immediately like, oh my gosh, dude, they're blowing their load. But, you know, you find out that the locals set the whole thing up. And I was like, okay, I'm on board for that. Like, they were scared, they want to get out. But if you're scared and you want to get out and you know the witch puts the fucking the spell on you if you stay one night, then why did you choose to come out here and stay one night to play this prank to leave because you're scared shitless now? Like, you have no point to this movie.
No, it really didn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, then it just started unraveling from there. Like, story-wise, character development-wise, acting-wise, jump scares were atrocious. Like, everything just started, like, unraveling to the point where I just became, like, just wrap this up. I just want to see how you end this thing, you know, because I'm already starting to get upset with this. And we're not even through the climax.
Well, let's talk about some of these jump scares, because that was something that I was not expecting in this movie at all. Like, they totally went Hollywood with this and didn't hold true to what made the original one so scary. And with Adam Wingard at the helm of this and how much we love what he's done, I was unbelievably surprised that they literally relied on nothing but jump scares to shock the audience.
No, they really did.
The camera cuts, dude. The camera cuts by far was my biggest gripe with this, dude. Like, every time a camera was cutting, it's glitching out. It's like crazy loud noises on every edit, dude. Like,
yeah, it was way too. It was way unauthentic. However, we would say it is not authentic. Artificial. It was way too artificial. And even when, I mean, I thought it was cool when she raised I don't know when she raised the drone up for the first time. I think it was right around that first camp night, just to kind of get a glimpse of everything.
Yeah, they wanted to see if you could see the house, like any break in the woods.
Yeah. I thought, like, later, you know, I thought using that drone would have been, I don't know, I thought it would have been, like, really useful to kind of use it to, like, your advantage, and they like never used it to their advantage at all during the movie. But
what's like what Perm was saying, dude. It's like you're bringing in all this technology, but you're not using it to benefit the movie, dude. It's literally, again, it's just kind of upgrading this for a new generation. It's like, oh, drones are available now. Let's throw a drone in the movie. It was almost product placement, dude. It was the point of product placement for the drone, dude. Like, it didn't benefit the story at all.
No, it didn't benefit the story at all. And another thing, I mean, they had flashlights and GPS coordinates and all this stuff, but it's like their way of getting around all that and going so, like, primitive was just like, oh, it's the witch, it's this demon creature, or so you think. And it's just like, I'm just going to play tricks with the electronics. Like, everything's just going to go haywire, and so you can't use anything. The flashlights start glitching. Like, it was just like when the flashlights started glitching when they're like, I'm going to go get firewood tonight. You know, I'll be right back. And it's like, oh, no, and they start hitting the flashlight. I'm sitting there like, really? Like, I'm just like...
Every cliche trope under the sun, dude. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what I think, you know, now that I'm looking back on it, I think what the magic... one piece of the magic from the first one was the black and white footage. Like, not seeing color, but seeing, like, the black and white, the simplistic, view of going about looking at things, as opposed to, like, getting, like, this, like, color spectrum, especially in this one, dude. Everything was, like, HD'd out. Like, you see the rain glistening off the leaves in the forest. It's like, it's kind of pulling me out of this experience. Like, if it was anything other than the Blair Witch, I would have been like, this movie sucks. But it's like, since it's the Blair Witch, it's like, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. But even then, man, it was like, when they were going into the forest, and it's like, you know, like, oh, I'm going to do this. What's that noise? And you hear these little cacklings and screams and, you know, and little hee-hee-hee or whatever in the forest.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, not really buying it, you know, sorry. And then, like, hear these big trees, like, crackling and whatnot. That first big one, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, when the branches were breaking, and all of a sudden you get that huge branch that broke, like, 5 feet away from you. And they're like, whoa, and the guy starts freaking out, or they all start jumping and running. I was like, okay, like, that's pretty dope. But then it's like it just happened again and again and again and again. It's like you're overusing it, dude. It's like It's like you ran out of material. Mm-hmm. It's like you don't even know what to use anymore. It's like you don't even know, like, how to scare people other than people, these new generation of people who love jump scares. You know, it's like, oh my God, that movie was so scary because it jump scared me. It's like, man, you don't know the psychological effects of like a good horror movie. The play on your emotional and, points and trigger points of like fear, like by yourself alone in the woods, maybe because you've never been in the woods before, so you don't know what to expect.
Well, they totally didn't play off of that stuff, dude. And it's like when they finally kind of like, leave that site, they kick the locals to the curb because they're like, oh, you play tricks, get out of here type thing. No, trust me, we gotta go, which again just doesn't make sense to me at all, like why you wanted to go on this and like you were literally psychotically trying to leave now.
Right.
So they go and they're like, we're going back, we're getting out of here, and they end up, looping back and they're back at the campsite and everyone's like, holy shit, how do we wind back up at the campsite again? And total freak out mode. And about this campsite, dude, like this felt like a set piece to me.
Did you say after the locals left?
Yeah, they boot the locals to the curb. They
That's
go
right,
out
that's
and they're
right.
trying to leave, and they come back to the original campsite.
They boot the locals because they found out they were
Pranking them.
Yeah, but it was the Stitches, right? Or the Stitches.
Yeah, they put the stick figures up.
The stick figures, and they pulled it out of the bag, right? Or something.
Yeah, they found the rope in the bag. And this campsite, dude. Did this feel like you were in the woods?
No. Say it, drop it.
It felt like a set piece to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It felt like a total set piece. And granted, I mean, maybe they did film it out in the woods, man, but I'll tell you what, dude, like, you confused the shit out of me with that because I totally felt like this was a built set in a Hollywood studio somewhere, and, like, this is going to be our campground spot. And they happened to use it 2 times, which almost makes me believe even more that it was a set because he had to reuse it 2 times.
Yeah.
I really hated the idea of coming back to this same campground site, man. Like, I liked in the original one where they're circling around, they're like, that's the same log we crossed. That's the same thing. That had a lot more weight to it. So we get back to the campground site. They decide to set up shop again. And, our good old buddy, what's his gentleman's name? Was it Wes? I can't remember his name, dude. The one black dude who's, like, freaking out. He's like, oh, this is fucking crazy. I can't believe we're back here. Ah. But he decides to go get Kindle in the middle of the night, not while it's still light out and they're setting stuff up, dude. In the middle of the night, goes out to go get Kindle for the fire and walks so far away you can't hear him yell when stuff starts to go down with him.
And what did you say? Why are you walking 100, 200 feet deep into the woods when you know shit's all
You're in the
crazy?
woods.
when you literally got a tree right there, man, and you could have just brought like a knife or a hatchet with you and just chopped away. I guess it pulls away from the fantasy of the Blair Witch, I guess, but still, it's like nobody would do that. Like you'd have
It's
to be a
stupid
complete
decision making.
You'd have to be a complete dumbass to go deep into the woods. To be like, I'm going to go grab twigs and little branches and stuff and bring it back to you guys. Like, I'll be back in like 45 minutes. I'm going to go deep, way the fuck over there. Okay, guys? I'll be back. Help me. And it's
And nobody can hear you.
No one can hear you, dude.
And we're in the woods where sound carries forever, dude. So silly. And that brings me to my next point in this movie, dude, of like where they really killed the fear. In the first Blair Witch project, dude, like you had the 3 together all the time. Like when things were happening, they were in a group because they were staying together. That's the smart thing to do. And the witch was playing tricks on them when they're all together. It created more fear like that. This one, dude, like they were isolating people. You know what I mean? They were getting everyone separated to where you had a segment with someone by themselves out in the woods having a trick played on them. But it doesn't make sense, dude, because if I'm standing in the woods, dude, and I don't care if you're 100 yards away, dude. I don't know why the hell you'd walk that far, but if you're 100 yards away and I scream, you're going to hear it, dude. Like, it's dead silent out there.
Yep.
So I didn't like how they isolated characters to set up their each little individual, like, scare moment, and really none of it got suspenseful to me. I didn't like how everything was depicted with loud, bassy booms, dude. Like, every time the witch would show up, and you couldn't see her, but every time she showed up, dude, she's like, like all these giant booms and bangs, dude. Just like, we're going to take advantage of this Dolby sound.
That's exactly what it was.
I'm sure these little ear cameras are picking that up just perfect, right? Like,
oh, man, dude, yeah. I feel like such a dumbass, too, because I was like, how are they getting all these crazy POV camera points? Like, how are they cutting from, like, this dude pissing on a tree to the chick, like, having a fever and high temperature inside the tent, and you see her kind of like her head drop. Like, how they do it took me, I feel like a dumbass, like I said. But I was like, and then I finally realized, I was like, oh, these stupid earpiece, Bluetooth camera bullshit things, you know. But it's like you mess with all this other technology, but you just couldn't mess with the smallest piece of technology. Like that couldn't. The only thing you can manage to do with that was like tweak it and go. But you got like a drone going blue, crashing into a tree. You got GPS coordinates going way off. You got your flashlight flickering on and off. But your camera still happened. This little Bluetooth camera, dude, still happens to just magically stay on at all times, no matter what. You know, it's just.
Well, at this point here where we're at, we're more than halfway through the movie. Is there any spot in this movie thus far that you guys felt on the edge of your seat or terrified or suspenseful, anything?
No, not at all.
Yeah, see, I didn't have any of that, dude, until this one scene. This next scene in the movie, for me, was kind of like the one point where I was a little bit on edge, and that's when the two main characters, right? So the guy and the girl, and like stuff is going psychotically haywire everywhere, and she's having like a panic attack, and he's like, "Hey, just breathe," and like everything starts chilling, and you're kind of like in her head in a sense, you know, and things get quiet till it's finally like a dead silent, dude, and she's just kind of breathing real heavily to calm herself down. I thought that was very, very nicely executed.
Yeah,
I really like
part
that.
Where it got all silent, you thought shit was going to happen,
and nothing does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked how they did that, because that was the one moment where I was kind of like, oh, this might be the moment where something might happen to terrify me, like not jump scare, but just something legitimate creepy, you know?
Mm-hmm. I was anticipating a jump scare. I really was. I was like, here comes a jump scare. Come on, just give it to me.
Oh, I was totally anticipating the jump scare, but it's like this, like in Don't Breathe, right? In Don't Breathe, right, stuff's intense and everything, and when they went to that silent out, like it kind of calmed your nerves with the movie. That's what that kind of was, dude. Like things are going crazy, and you're kind of just like, oh my god, there's so much going on, and then as it totally calms down, like you just get into that mellow mood with the movie, and you're just like, all right, I'm chill.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was pretty expertly delivered right there. But I mean, going from that there, you know, we end up seeing the locals come back again, which is, I guess, the huge plot point that they wanted. You're gonna break that down, Captain Perm Slice.
I like the chick, man. I like the local chick. I thought she did a really good job. The other guy, he was okay, but didn't only she come back?
No, they both
came back, and then
he bolted.
He bolted, and she stayed.
But that's where they introduced like this crazy plot point in the movie where like they showed up, you know, and they're like, like, when was the last time you saw us?
Oh yeah, where it's kind of So what they've been in the woods for like 5 days or some shit.
Yeah, like this
really
morning, this afternoon or whatever.
Yeah, that was weird. It was kind of like this time warp thing. I didn't really understand it at the time, and I'd probably have to revisit the movie to like kind of figure that out. But I didn't really get that, and I thought it was a little too much to put in there because it's making you think too much about it.
Yeah, I thought there was a little too much.
I really liked the chick though, the girlfriend of the Green Day guy. She, I think she did probably the best job acting in the
Green Day guy.
I think she legitimately like made it seem like she was fucking terrified.
She felt the most natural.
She was the only person who I felt like, holy crap, this girl is like, just she's having an episode.
Now that you say that,
yeah, she felt natural.
And I'm thinking about it.
I mean, the terror,
yeah,
like the terror on her face
when
she finds out that her hair is being used for the new Twig people, you know, before that, like,
that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and
she finds her hair, and then the black chick like breaks it in half, and then her body snaps in half.
Ready.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it definitely was cool, but I don't know how I feel about that because it's just kind of like you're adding all this stuff that was never there in the original movie.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are you trying to say? That these stick people are like, it's like voodoo shit?
Dolls, dude, yeah.
Like, I didn't get that. I mean, I like that they did that because you have to kill her off anyway. And I thought it was cool how they did it, but I wish it would have been something that was introduced earlier. Like, maybe talk about how the witch did voodoo. Maybe talk about why the witch
some
made
kind of foreshadowing into
people,
it.
You know?
Yeah.
It's never been explained why the witch does those stick figures. Ever.
Yeah.
So why now just put it in there like, oh, well, now these represent you, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was such the terror in the first one when they just stumble across this thing. You're like, damn, dude. Like, it's not the idea that I woke up out of my tent and like this shit's here because it's serving a purpose. It's we're walking through the woods, we're lost, and we're stumbling across this. Like if I walked across some shit like that, just randomly walking through the woods and I'm lost and already scared, that would hit my boiling point. You know, they use it in such a weird way, and it's the same thing with the rock piles, man. Like they walk out and there's the rock piles, and there's no emphasis on it. Like they walk out and they're just like, oh, rocks.
See them, and then the camera goes right up to the twig things.
Yeah, it's just like,
really focus at the rocks.
Who cares about rocks?
Yeah.
But the first movie made you scared, dude. Like terrified of a pile of rocks. A pile of rocks was scary. This one is just kind of like, oh, and they totally move on from it and stuff.
I didn't know when she took that stick figure and she broke it in half and it broke the chick in half. The camera edit was just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it was fast. Dude.
It was like I was like, what the?
It's like you almost didn't know what happened, dude.
I didn't know what happened. I was like, I leaned over. I was like, what just happened? She's like, oh, she broke the stick and it broke her.
Everybody's dead. Yeah, it was a quick bang, dude, and which led to the next scene of isolation. You know, like the two main, the chicken guy take off, and then the other girl who got her foot cut takes off, and here we are again, dude. Like here now we're isolated to get our witch scene with the other girl who got her foot cut. And she's climbing to get this drone at the top of the tree, and she's reaching, and then falls down the tree, and just, you know what I mean? All this, it's just like, dude, just stop already. Just stop with this already.
Like the original Blair Witch, man, never made any sort of like physical contact with.
It was just spine tingling fear, dude.
It was like you can never get rid of these like eyes that are like watching you at all times. This one, it literally had some sort of like a physical like you had to see something physical in order for them to be like super scared. Case in point, trees falling down literally feet away from your face. The tents, the camps, literally catapulting straight into the air like a UFO, and then coming down like right in front of them. Same thing with the black guy who got abducted. He's trying to sit there and film it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what's up with these like heavy feet? Like, what is this, Bigfoot? Like, is this like a giant creature? Like, what is this? Like,
I know.
It's almost like this, like 50-foot tall, like Bigfoot.
Godzilla, dude. It was like Godzilla attacking them, dude.
Yeah,
like
it
Manila,
really
dude.
was.
It was Manila. Like, doof. It's like, what is this?
It's like, what? At first, I was like, man, I was like, that can't be the witch, dude. Like, that has to be some sort of like minion, like a slave, like for the witch or something. You know what I mean? Because they said in the first one, the witch wore like wool outfit, hair all in her, and it was like, oh yeah, legend says that her feet never touched the ground. And then
well, that's what the kids said. Remember the kids? The guy was telling the story about what the kids came back. They came out of the woods out of nowhere. They're like, oh my gosh, the kids came back out of nowhere. And they were like, yeah, they just kept talking about this woman who's whose feet never touch the ground. And it's just like, the image of that's creepy. Mm-hmm. And that's what they were kind of aiming for in the first Blair Witch Project. Remember when they're running and stuff, and they were supposed to do that quick camera pan to see kind of like this floating figure just kind of like, like through the woods with them. And like, yeah, the whole time you're hearing these stomping footsteps, it's just like, what the hell is going on, dude? Like, what are we dealing with here?
It's completely backwards from what the original had as far as like an imagery in your mind of what the witch looked like, and not to say like also too, that's the original one, this one's different, blah blah blah. It's like, no, dude, because these people in this movie are still banking off the same campfire stories from the original one, so it's like if you're banking off these like campfire, legend, I hear if you spend the night her spell gets put on you. It's like you can say, well, how do you know? I don't know, man. It was a lot of like continuity error.
They were like trying to add more to the story, which was to the legend of the Blair Witch, which is kind of funny because in the first movie they're interviewing multiple people, right? So you're getting multiple spectrums with multiple stories. You're pretty much getting what you need on the Blair Witch, right? You're getting specific stories where people, where the lady was with her kid or whatever. or the fishermen or whatever, and they saw that black mist come out. You know, you're talking to people who have experienced stuff. You're talking to people that have seen stuff, people that have heard the legends and the stories, and all of a sudden, like, these two locals show up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, like, well, we've got multiple stories to talk about that contribute to this, but we're not saying anything that has already been previously mentioned. Really kind of strange with that.
Yeah.
And this kind of brings us to the whole climax of the movie, right? So the two mains are the last people remaining in this here, and they're sprinting through the woods, and it's raining and stuff, and they finally get to the house, which still feels like the house is, like, literally, like, right off the turnpike. But they make it out to the house. It does, dude. Like, I can't get over the fact that, like, and the house felt like a set, too. When they got to the house, dude, and they're standing there, like, it was like, oh, a set piece. They built the house in a studio.
Yeah,
That's
it literally
exactly what
did.
it felt like, dude. Like, this was a fucking set piece. We got to find out if this was a set piece or not. We got to find out, dude. It looked like a damn set piece.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was filmed on location. Like I said earlier, man, it definitely was. I don't think it was the same woods. Now, granted, in the first one, it was, you know, colder, fall, November, December type time. You know, in this one, it was green foliage, you know, and this and that. It was like almost summertime. So I could be totally wrong. But I don't know. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I've come to say that it was not filmed on the same location as the original one. Certain parts were, but when you got to that forest, man, and it's showtime, yeah, set piece city, dude, you know?
Yeah, it totally looked like a damn set, dude. And the one trope, dude, that we talked about last week, the one thing in this movie that I was, like, terrified of happened in this exact moment, dude. After all of this is going on, and shit's hit the fan, and things are just batshit crazy, they get to the house, and all of a sudden, dude, he's just like, that's Heather. Heather's in the house. I gotta go get her. And I was like, God dang it, dude. That was the one, remember last week, that was the one thing I said. I hope this does not become one of those stupid, like, driving forces where someone's just going to lose their shit and be like, ah! But it happened, dude. He just like, oh, I got to go in the house.
No, he really did. And
then we get our, break it down, dude. Break down the reveal.
Oh, shit. Well, the reveal of the witch.
Yeah.
At first, I was kind of confused. So they're outside of the house, and she's like saying, "Oh, don't go in there." And isn't there like a camera scene where it kind of like pans over and you see the witch kind of like jump behind a tree or some shit?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I actually like was hoping for that, because I was hoping for some kind of a reveal similar to that where you'd see a little bit of the witch.
Yeah, that's what
Not
we
the
all
whole
wanted.
thing.
We talked about that last week and stuff.
Then you see what the witch looks like, and it's completely like not what you were expecting it to look like. And I wasn't really into that. I mean, I understand why they made the witch look like they did, because going back to the beginning where the locals were like, yeah, they used to like hang her and like stretch her and shit. So they wanted to like make her look like she had like long
The
arms and
Cloverfield
legs.
monster.
Yeah, but like it's still I think it's one of those ideas, and I feel like this for most of the movie is this movie looked really good on paper and not so much in how it turned out. I feel like
that's a
if I was
great
to
assessment.
read this script, I would have been like, cool, okay, I'm down with like this movie. But when it, you know, not everything that is on paper looks good in real life. So
Let's talk about the look of the witch, dude. Like, we get that quick reveal, you know? Let's talk about the look of this, dude. Like, was it anything that you were expecting?
It wasn't scary. It didn't terrify me, and it just looked like a blob. Like, there was no like defined like body features.
It was a CGI.
It was a CGI,
blob, dude.
It wasn't like I would have been okay with it being a fucking old woman. I don't know, like
It looked like an alien almost,
yeah,
dude. It was
it
almost
didn't-
alien-esque.
it reminded me a lot of that VHS 2 sequence, the alien abduction.
Yes, it
one.
did, dude. That's exactly what I was thinking
and
about.
I was kind of like, all right, like.
And why is she so light? You know what I mean?
I just didn't like how she looked at all.
Is it
And it took me out of it.
VHS 2, was that the one with the little dog and they got abducted and it was
Yeah.
like black? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's
The dog,
exactly what it
drops
looked
to the
like.
ground or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
It was
Yeah,
totally
and it
like
looked
that, dude.
that. And I didn't like that because, you know, I don't even care about going back to the original with what she looked like in that one, according to locals. I just wanted her to look like a fucking witch. Like a
witch.
fucking old, scary-looking fucking woman who's, like, possessed or something. I don't know. Give me something that looks legitimately scary. But she looked just... It was CGI. You could tell it was CGI. And I to be honest, I liked the final act. I enjoyed the kind of like 0 to 60 that they went there. And I liked how, I mean, yeah, the house really did feel like a set. It didn't really feel like a natural house, like out in the middle of nowhere. But I like the idea of him going room to room trying to figure this shit out. And I like the idea of the chick getting stuck and like that really like kind of claustrophobic feel, because that's what scares
she was
the shit
tunnel
out of
crawling
me.
and stuff. Yeah.
And I like how the witch was like chasing her through the tunnel kind of. And then, you know, she can't look at the witch, so she's using the video camera like, you know, flip screen to like look behind her. But then you see like the witch behind her, and it just looks not scary. So it takes you
huge.
out.
It's like an 9 foot like.
And it takes you out of that whole scene, because like I'm legitimately at this point I was like, okay, I'm starting to get really nervous. I'm starting to get really tense because now you have the local kid who's doing the witch's bidding, which I thought was kind of cool. He's like, you know, oh, I have to do what she tells me to do so she doesn't kill me.
I didn't understand that.
And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that, whatever. Like, he's doing her bidding. He throws the chick into the cellar, like, or whatever, the trap door. And I was like, cool. Like, that's cool, because earlier in the movie they referenced that. They referenced that they found a house where the dude in the cellar had, like, holes dug in the ground that went nowhere.
Right.
You know, and so you're only there to assume that, like, other victims had been thrown in that pit and they were digging and they went nowhere and the witch killed them or some shit, right? So it was cool, like, to have the chick going through these tunnels, and it was really claustrophobic and kind of freaky to hear the witch. Like, you can hear the fucking witch in behind, you know, like, okay, you need to get the fuck out of there. Let's go, let's go, let's go. But then you get the reveal of the witch, and it's like, it just takes you out. Like, it takes you out of the moment.
Yeah, that's
Because
really
at that point, I
underwhelming,
wasn't
dude.
even scared. I was like, okay, I was really nervous, and now I see what this witch looks like, and it's like an orangutan, and I don't care anymore.
It's like an orangutan.
Yeah, and I was just like, it looks like a fucking sloth. Like, I don't care anymore.
Well, how hard would it have been, dude, to just like put a real actor in
That's what
some
I'm saying.
makeup and an outfit, dude?
To be honest,
You know,
so
like-
go back to that. Go back to that
Really
fucking.
difficult.
Go back
Yeah.
to that footage that you got at the beginning of the movie with that woman's silhouette picture, right?
That was
That was
creepier looking.
creepy.
Wait, wow, woman silhouette
It was
picture.
supposed to be Heather in the mirror,
Remember,
you know?
he's
When they
like-
paused for her, and they're like, that's my sister.
Oh,
And had like the
yeah.
blacked out eyes, looked like a
I
possessed
was
person.
I was hoping that would be the witch.
That's what I
The
thought
whole
it was
movie,
too,
I was
dude.
like, that's the witch. That's got to be the witch. It looks like a witch. Looks like her. It's a witch. No, it's
that
not.
image was way creepier than what the actual witch looked like.
I thought
dude.
they should have used that. They should have used that as the witch, and they should have used that same sequence. Don't even have. You could have like a human woman playing the part, and then a CGI face all blacked out like that. That would have been cool too.
Oh yeah.
But they just made the whole thing CGI.
Well,
so-
even like kind of what Bone had mentioned. I think maybe last week on the podcast, dude, was like seeing Heather as the witch. You know what I mean? Like maybe the whole idea, dude, is like the witch was just this essence, this presence out there that possesses and stuff, and like Heather has taken this new physical form. Where now you get Heather back in the role, dude, and like you can't tell it's her, but it is her. You know, and she's all demented looking and stuff.
We did get to see her though. They showed her when he's going through the rooms. Well, real quick, when they showed like the leading, like with Perma Sam, it's gonna kind of like go my take. You see this like creature pointing his little head off the tree. At first, I was like, that can't be the witch. Please, dear God, that's not the witch, because that's like a naked golem figure that's like 9 feet tall.
Yeah,
I
dude.
said, dear God, please don't be the witch. I just assumed I was like, maybe it's like a slave minion, like I said earlier, trying to do the witch's tasks for her. I was like,
seriously, like, remember The Conjuring?
Here it comes.
Remember the fucking Conjuring?
Yeah.
Remember the scariest scene in that movie for me was when the fucking witch is in top of the dresser, the wardrobe dresser.
Oh, that was an awesome scene. Yeah.
And it zooms right into the witch, and it just scares the shit out of you, dude.
Because it's a
That
lady
scene.
in makeup.
Yeah.
And when they show her again, too, dude, when she, like, hovers over the wife. You
Yeah.
know, that scene where the wife's laying in bed.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, like real quick, it's like
That's a good reveal.
it's like
Yeah, dude,
okay,
like,
you got it.
Give me that. You know what I mean? You had obviously have the technology to create, you know, amazing special effects on like a human. You know what I mean? Like, you have the ability to make a witch look legit. So why not just do it? And
Well, especially if you want to give this this low budget feel, dude. Like we're going back to the grind in the woods,
Right.
and then we get this CGI blob of shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like this naked ass Ric Flair, Larry Bird, Milky White looking pile of shit.
Because if you saw the original from 1999, and you got all these 17, 16 years later, in your head you're thinking, okay, Blair Witch, the word witch. I mean, you even had a movie called The Witch that came out last year that literally had female witches as the demonic force
Dude,
behind.
the witches in that, dude, and you don't get to see much, but that was 10 times creepier, dude.
Way creepier
than what you got in this, dude.
Even from the original, you were to assume that, like, okay, it's a female witch, because you grow up thinking a witch is a witch, not this 9-foot golem bastard. But it's like they get inside the house and the guy's like freaking out. The guy's freaking out, going from room to room, and then he sees the black guy in the corner, and poof, the guy vanishes. It's like, first off, then where did you get his like camera footage? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he had his earpiece connected to him.
Where did you get all this camera footage? Because it's like, oh, we found this footage in 2014. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, this guy's like poofing out of thin air. Like, how did you find his body if all of a sudden this whole entire place is like just darkness and there's no daylight? First off, it's like you'd have to spend the night to get under her spell in order to see the house, we were to assume, because in the beginning of the movie they never mentioned that, like, oh, we never found no house. We never found this house. But it's like, okay, so you got to spend the night to get in her grasp, so to speak, to see the house, and then they would have to find these bodies, grab their earpiece cameras, and then somehow manage to get the hell out of Dodge to go out of her spell. It made no sense. It's like, how did you get this footage?
You're only to assume it's similar to the original where the footage was just found. Like, the tapes were just found scattered. Because the original movie, the tapes were found. It wasn't like they went to the house and found the tapes in the house. The tapes.
Yeah, it was like they found it in a
tapes
foundation.
were scattered throughout the forest in the place where the public can find them. So you're only there to assume this way. But even still, it's a little hard to believe that with earpiece cameras, handheld cameras, drone footage, whatever, Super 8 cameras, like, there was just so much array of cameras, and it's like, they're all, like, all these fucking things are using, like, digicards, like, it's not even a tape, you're not finding, like, these tapes, like, this is all, like, digital shit. Like, did someone find this on the cloud or something, like...
Well, why do they keep working? If the GPS goes out, the cell phones go out, the clocks ain't working because they ain't waking up on time, the drone gets, all jacked up when they bring it up. Like, everything's going to hell except the cameras keep shooting, All electronics fail except cameras.
And what is up with this, because then you start, like, what Perm said earlier, you start getting to this, like, weird time warp stuff, this weird, like, time travel thing going on where she's getting thrown.
Way too much of like a sci-fi supernatural element that did not need to be in the movie.
The chick's getting dumped inside this hole. You get this like vibe where it's like she's got to crawl this hole, this claustrophobic thing, and then the witch is like you hear her stomps, and then she pops out of the hole in the same area. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you get this like weird white light from the outside coming in through the entire house. Like, this UFO just came down, and it
got way too...
Yeah, what the hell was the light? It got
way too just spiritual and, like, mystical.
Like, mystical?
It was just way too, like, fantasy,
Too many unicorns.
Like, I'm not thinking about, like, a witch from, like, fucking Wizard of Oz here, I'm not thinking of a witch from a Disney movie. I'm thinking of a witch as in, like, this bitch hangs out in the woods and abducts kids and fucks and eats them,
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of just some serious, like a sick-ass, gross, thing, nasty, ugh,
Look at that. That's like hot white light, dude, coming through that place, man. Like, what is that? That's got to be some sort of time dimension, warp.
It was something that did not need to be there.
I love Adam Wingard, and I'm not, I just don't know where he was going with what he did, and like I said, I feel like it looked so much better on paper than it did in him actually doing it.
It did, dude. And the climactic ending, I dug it for the most part, man. Like it's not like it had me on the edge of my seat or anything, but I feel like it would have been so much better if they would have like made the most out of their opportunities in there. they totally like drop the ball when the chick is climbing through the like the tunnels underground and everything. That was claustrophobic, man. They did a good job making you feel claustrophobic in that there, but they totally dropped the ball on making that a completely terrifying segment, dude. If she's crawling right and she gets stuck, dude, and she's pushing and pushing and pushing, you know, and now you hear like like the lump. That's not creepy, man. It would have been so much creepier if she's like and then just kind of stop because she hears something from behind her, dude, and now like you're stuck and you can't move and you're just like just you know what I mean? So, the subtlest little sound like that, dude, would have made the hair on my neck stand up. And it was the same thing that they totally dropped the ball at the end of the movie. I love the idea, dude, when he was just like, get in the corner, just stare in the corner. You know, that was cool, right? Because she can't kill him at that point, right? I mean, she could, but the concept behind that, I was totally behind, right? If you stand in the corner, you're safe. I was like, all right, cool, I can buy that. But again, they're standing,
and you don't look, right? You stand.
Yeah, you can't look at the witch because if you look at the witch, she'll kill you. And it's like they're both in the corners, but again, dude, it's not this creepy vibe thing, dude. It's like they're standing in the corners. It's like, and it's just loud and chaos, dude. And I'm like, why does it have to be like this, man? How much creepier would it have been if they're standing in the corner and you could hear them like sniffling and breathing, and they're trying to stay as quiet as possible, and like you get that sense, dude, of the witch just kind of just like right behind them, over the shoulder type thing, just like just kind of hovering over them. Just to give you that sense of insecurity, but instead they go the route of just the big over dramatic ending,
Hollywood,
dude.
The
it was the Transformers ending, dude. It was like the Transformers ending. It's like, we gotta blow shit up. Like the level of Blair Witch to what they did on that last like 30 seconds to a minute right there was like the equivalent of the Transformers blowing the shit out of Chicago. You know?
Yeah.
I loved the concept, dude. It just would have been executed so much better if it was quiet and chill, dude. And the best part of the movie to me, dude, the best part is when they're running through the house and when they go into the basement and turns that corner and you get that quick shot where you can, and they totally did it so humbly, but they turn the corner, you're like, that's where Mike was standing at the end of the movie. Yep. That was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, me too, because I was like, holy shit. I literally said out loud, I was like, holy shit, this is the basement.
Yeah.
Like that
was the only part I got scared, only because it reminded me so much of the first movie. I was like, oh shit.
But like I said earlier, when he was going up through the rooms, when he opened a door to look out the hallway, it showed Heather wearing that like white sweater with the white pants and stuff from the original movie, what she was wearing. It showed her, but her face is all blackened and bloodied, and like just you couldn't recognize her face, but you can recognize the clothes. That was her, you know, straight up. And it was just like, well, confirmed, like she's dead. And she's bed dead, and you're an idiot.
Because it's been 14 years.
It's been 14 years, and you're the idiot who were like, my sister's alive. She's in this random house, I feel surviving off leaves.
I feel like they needed Josh, dude. They needed Josh to get in that guy's face and be like, you're out in the woods. It's been 14 years. Your sister's missing. No one's found her. They haven't found the house. What's your motive? I'm just making movies. I feel like we could have used that right there.
I took that map and I kicked that son of a bitch into the river.
When all comes down, dude, like, let's score it, man. 0 out of 0. What do you guys give it?
I give it, in all honesty, I give it a 3, dude. Like, that's what everyone's kind of getting.
3 out of 3?
Oh, well, the 0 out of 0, but it's say a 3 out of 10. If I was to be on like if it was payday and I had pizza in me, then I'd be like, all right, 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Permy?
I give it a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
There was enough of the movie that I enjoyed to let me forget about the other stuff. And mind you, I didn't go into this movie like expecting them to reinvent the wheel, but I felt like it was a valiant effort, and I respect, his attempt to revitalize a series that has really gone under the radar and been basically one of the most underrated films ever. You know what I mean? Like the original. So I think he did a good job of revitalizing it, but he did fall short a lot. So
yeah,
I give it a 6.
Disappointed with Adam Weingart and Simon Barrett with this, but still very much looking forward to what they've got. I'm going 2 out of 10, and the only reason this movie's getting any points for me,
savage, bro,
dude, I am, man. It gets 1 point 1 point for the scene where he's calming the girl down. That legitimately I thought was a pretty well-executed, intense moment. And 1 point for showing the corner that Mike stood in, because I thought that was freaking badass. So I'm going 2 out of 10. Blair Witch, guys, if you have seen it, leave some comments. Make sure you check us out on Facebook.com/NerfHerdersPodcast, YouTube.com/NerfHerdersPodcast. We are on Spreaker Live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. You can also catch us on iTunes. Again, this is Bootzilla.
This is Big Perm.
J-Bone.
Thanks for tuning in to Nerf Herders Podcast. We'll see you next week.